Hello everyone, welcome to this BoP Test video. It's not called car profiles for one very specific reason. We're actually going to do a BoP test at the end of this video, so we'll jump to that shortly. First of all, I have been hinting quite a while on streams. I've mentioned it in a few videos. I've mentioned it on Twitter, Discord, you name it. I've mentioned it everywhere about the BoP test and the car profiles, about whether I'm doing it the right way, and whether it should be more just on the neutral track, etc, etc, different tyres. So I put a vote out there, and it was either 30 minutes at Suzuka and 15 minutes with fuel and tyres at Suzuka, or the status quo of 3 tracks plus the 8-minute race at Interlagos. Now the vote was very close. It was 54 to 46%, very close, 94 votes total there, which told me it's literally a split in half in the community in terms of what people want. So here is what I've decided. I'm going to combine all this. So a car profile is going to happen on any car we've not done a car profile on. So we're going to start with the Group 4s with the car profiles. We've done all the Group 3 car profiles. There's no more car profiles for Group 3 unless a new car is introduced. But we'll talk about Group 3s again in a second. So we are going to go to Group 4 with car profiles. And they're going to happen bi-weekly. So like literally next week you'll have a Group 4 car profile. You then miss a week. And the week after that you'll have a Group 4 car profile of a new car. And so on and so forth. And you'll have the 3 tracks. You'll have Dragon Trail Seaside. You'll have Interlagos. And then when you get to Suzuka, we're actually going to change the tyres to the medium compound tyres. Obviously it's the middle tyre. We're going to test on the middle tyre at Suzuka. Now, in terms of this, what we're then going to do is literally do a test, a normal test at Suzuka. 20 minutes, roughly, 10 laps is what we're going to do at Suzuka. And then we're going to have the times. Now, if the BoP was to change on any one of the cars we've done, we're just going to go back into Suzuka and do 20 minutes again and then see what the time is and see the difference about where it is. So that's what we're going to do in terms of combining it. Now I did mention about the race at Suzuka. That isn't changing. We're going to keep it at Interlagos with the fuel and tyres. It's an 8-minute race. It's 4 laps times 10 tyres times 10 fuel. Nice and easy to set up. I can jump straight in and off I go. So that is what we're going to do in terms of the race at Interlagos and testing tyre wear and fuel acceleration. Because I know everyone's interested in that, you know, just see the tyre wear, etc. Trust me, it gets interesting in this video in terms of tyre wear. So that's what we're going to do there. Now you're probably going, Tidge, why are we missing a week? Well, here's the interesting fact. I said we'd get back to Group 3s. Here's the info about Group 3s. Now, because we've already done all the car profiles on the Group 3, you can check that out in the description if you want to have a look at the playlist. We've done all Group 3 cars. All the car profiles are there. The characteristics of cars don't really change that much in the game. Yes, a patch may make stuff more understeery and less oversteery, but generally the characteristics stay the same. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the BoP test, just Suzuka and the Interlagos race, on all the Group 3s. So on the every other week, where we don't have a car profile, is going to be the Group 3 BoP test. And we're going to do 2 at a time to really speed this up, to get the information and data that you can then use and decide your manufacturer, potentially for next year, if that's the case. So this video, you're going to have 2 cars in this video. And both their car profiles are going to be down below and at the end of the video as well, so you can click into them and look into them in a little bit more depth. So we are going to be using Suzuka and medium tyres because that's the middle ground tyre, and we're going to be using Interlagos with the same settings that we already have done. So we do have already data there in terms of all the cars we've done already in terms of the Interlagos race. The Suzuka times we'll have to redo on the cars that we haven't done, but even so that's absolutely fine. I'm not too worried about that. So that's what's going to happen with the car profiles and the BoP tests. So the car profiles are going to happen as normal, 3 tracks, 8-minute Interlagos race. The Suzuka is now a medium tyre, not the hard compounded tyre. That's going to be our BoP track. So what we're doing here, we're identifying the characteristics of the car, which is the idea of the car profile, and then we do the BoP test at Suzuka, and then we do the race test at the very end. So that's what a car profile will be like. And then the BoP test is like what we're going to do now. 2 cars at Suzuka, medium tyres, 20 minutes, and then we're going to do the 8-minute race at Interlagos with fuels and tyres on times 10 and see where the extremes are in terms of tyres and fuel. So that's it in terms of the update for car profiles and BoP test. That's what is coming. If you've got any opinions about this or any comments or maybe concerns or whatever it might be, lob them in the comment box below. But otherwise, I'm going to leave you with myself now talking about the Audi R8 Group 3, because of course that's first. I drive it often enough, and the Ferrari 458 Group 3 car as well. So first off, the Audi R8, and we're just about to cross the start finish line now. So you can see top left, it is lap number 9. I always show you my fastest lap, but remember we are looking at the optimum time, which is down in the bottom right hand side of the session. So coming into here, it's obviously looking a lot more stable than the hard tyres in the car profile. Now if you're interested in the car profile, full details of this car, check out the description or wait till the end of the video where there'll be a link to the car profile for this car and also the Ferrari that we're looking at straight after this. Coming through the S's then, obviously I know this car very well, I race it all the time. If I have a chance to race the Audi R8, I use it because I like the car as we chuck it into the left. So I should be able to get a really good lap time here. One that is probably further ahead than it should be when I'm doing these tests, because obviously I'm just doing 10 laps. And most cars, you obviously get used to it, you get some good sectors in there, which is why we use the optimum. You know, you get the best of all the sectors, you combine it, that's your optimum time. But here with the Audi, obviously I'm so used to it, I might be just going a little bit further ahead in performance as we come towards the hairpin now. Accelerate out of here, obviously with the medium tyre, we've got a little bit more grip, so less oversteer on the exit. Plant our foot and off we go now towards Spoon. So obviously this is going to be faster, we're in the 57s. I'll swim currently down to a 57.494 after our sector 1 there of 32.774. In towards Spoon we go, clip the apex very nicely, head towards the outside there and bring it back in. You see a lot of trail braking there. You may have seen the overlaying into turn 1 as well. Well, what do I mean by overlaying? I mean braking and just slightly dabbing the accelerator there just to keep the car efficient. Now, I do get asked about brake balance all the time. Brake balance is very much personal preference. I use 0 in all these balance performance checks just for ease here. It gives us a good idea in terms of how the car is meant to handle in terms of its default setup. And, you know, you can change your brake balance as you wish. Normally for an MR car like this, you would go towards the front just to balance the car out a little bit. We leave the chicane there and we head towards the line, and this lap time is going to be 57.479. Our optimum down to a 57.424. We'll just confirm that right now, and it doesn't change there on lap number 10. So, if you know, fairly okay there. Our fastest lap, nearly our optimum lap there. We actually got a better sector 2 on lap number 2. And as I say, because I'm so used to driving this car, I was straight on it, straight off the bat there, straight to the 57s on lap number 2. It's a nice and easy, really. We jump to Interlagos then for the race, and you can see traction control on 1. We're just flat foot to the floor, times 10 tyre and fuel. Let's see what our 0 to 100 time is. We accelerate away, quite a slow start there. We just hit the rev limiter a tiny bit there. We continue on, and there we go, 7.600 seconds. Maybe it should be a tiny bit quicker, but nothing major there really. Just in terms of we hit the limiter slightly in first gear. We just misjudged it slightly. But even so, we can continue on with this test now. So racing soft tyres here. Times 10 tyres, times 10 fuel. We basically do 4 laps of Interlagos and see what the percentages are at the end. We did this previously in the car profiles. We haven't done it in the car profile that we first did on this car because this test wasn't in there. This is something that we added in the most recent car profiles. We're now doing this for all the cars to get a good idea of how much tyre wear they use and how much fuel they use going full pelt. By no means does this test the fuel saving ability of cars, because I can tell you right now the Audi R8 is terrible at fuel saving, but I can explain that a little bit more when we have a look at the table at the very end. Coming up here, of course, with the soft tyres, it's going to be very grippy here, and this is why we're just testing the tyre wear and the fuel usage of the cars, because if we're checking out performance or the performance overall of a car, it's going to vary between tyres, soft, medium and hards. That's one reason why we're doing Suzuka with a medium tyre, because it's slap bang in the middle. It should be the average, so that should be where the most balance is on the medium tyre, and then it varies between the hard and the soft then. Come towards the end of the last sector here. Oh, sorry, end of sector 2. We head towards the last sector. We're just going to clip the curb there nicely and head up towards the start finish. So I'm going to advance now to lap number 4 there. Nice little merge for you. You see our fuel down to 17%. With the Audi, you do rev very close to the limit here. You can see that as we continue towards the line. We're going to stop it at the line. We're going to see how much fuel we have used first of all. 13% there, fuel, so we have actually got a fair bit of fuel left compared to some of the other cars that we have tested already. We can compare against them a little bit later on. We then are going to jump towards the tyres, and as you can see there, 82%, 80% for the fronts, 75% for the rear left. The rear right really takes a pounding here, down to 64%. So that's where you're going to start to see a lot of oversteer come in. We know from this car, from other people using it, it does suffer with oversteer. The most recent patch in terms of you know, making all the cars a little bit more understeery has definitely helped solve that a little bit, but even so, you know, 64% is quite significant there. A 607.564, so quite a good time in the grand scheme of it here for the race time for the Audi R8 LMS Group 3 car. Right, and it's now time for the Ferrari. Let's see what the Ferrari does now. Obviously, this car is well known for being more sketchy than the Audi. One of the sketchiest cars in the class here, the Group 3 class. We head towards turn number 1. Again, you're going to see the overlaying technique here. As we brake, we're just having that accelerator a little bit, so it generates understeer. We near the understeer off there, so we just get this turn slightly wrong. But again, this is my fastest lap, remember. It's not the best lap, it's just the fastest lap I do in the 10 laps. Remember, we are looking at optimum. But this sector, so minus the first corner, the rest of this sector, was easily the best I did in the entire session. I could not match this. It was unbelievably good as I come through the left. Now, I got this bit slightly wrong. I know that because I used to gain time on this. So I know there's more time in these laps. Obviously, not as much in the Audi. I do think there's still more in the Audi, of course. The more you do, the more you will improve. No lap is ever perfect. As we come in towards Gr.3 here, you see a little bit of oversteer there, but we catch it absolutely fine. Again, zero brake bounce here. It's no front or rear brake bounce as we head towards the hairpin now. Again, we don't do the best of entries here. You can just see that we missed the apex slightly. We accelerate out, no problem there, so we lose a little bit of time, but we continue on now and head towards Spoon. So this car, similar to what I said in the car profile, still a little bit sketchy if I'm honest, especially when tyre wear comes into play, but we'll look at that shortly. Definitely an advanced car to drive, really. This I would actually say it's a very advanced car to drive. So if you're new to Gran Turismo Sport, never drive this car first. Never ever drive this car first, because you are going to struggle with it. Pick a very much more stable car. There's lots of them out there, the AMG, etc. This car, very sketchy. But if you do really want to improve your driving skill and technique, you know, learning overlaying and stuff, well, this is the extreme that you can go. Use this car. But you can see we're well up on our fastest lap at the moment as we come in towards the braking zone here. We do the chicane the same on every car just to keep it even. So we do always do that cut there on the left. We continue on out here. 3/10 up on our fastest lap here. So we head towards the line. You can see our optimum down to 57.6 there. We'll see what it is overall when we flick over. 6.57 there is our fastest lap. But let's have a look at our optimum. It's down to a 57.603 there. You see lap 10, our sector 2 improved there. I did say, you know, there was still time. There's still leaving a little bit more time in there. I think there's still a 10th easily in sector 2 there. Still time everywhere in this Ferrari, but we only have 10 laps in each of the cars just to keep it fair and equivalent across the board. So at 57.603. We jump to Interlagos now for the fuel tyre acceleration test. Everything in one. Here we go. Accelerate away there. Very good start there. Accelerate away. No hitting the limiter this time. Remember, turn traction control off the minute we've changed gear once. And our time there, 6.866, to 100. That is extremely fast, that. I think that's actually the fastest one to date. So the Ferrari, a very quick start here as we chuck it into the left here of turn number 1. So, I did mention just before, the tyre wear with the Ferrari is a little bit sketchy, and that's because it oversteers more than anything else. So when you have the multiplier, obviously this amplifies. The more you slide, the more that amplifier has an impact on you. So I try to keep it as stable as possible, but while still trying to maintain a decent, solid race speed here. You know, that's the whole goal here. Just push the car to the limits, keeping it safe, avoiding any oversteer, and then we see what the tyres and fuel is at the end. As we head up towards the right-hander now, the double right-hander here. Hit the first apex there. Do we hit the second apex? Oh, just miss it by a few inches there and in towards the braking zone. You see we're in second gear again. We did second gear for the Audi. It felt about right here, second gear. It usually is about right, to be fair, as we come through here. You can see how we're trying to keep the car stable. Love the use of the curbs there as we head towards the right-hander. You see a little bit of oversteer there under braking. We catch it. We had to drop to first gear, though, in this one. You see a little bit of oversteer on the exit there as well. We come through here, flat out towards the end of sector 2, start our sector 3, hit the braking zone here. Again, if we can clip the curb, we just clip it there, accelerate out. What we'll do again, we'll advance to lap number 4 here, and you can see our fuel on the right side. So we've actually used more fuel than the Audi there. I think when we transitioned on the Audi it was 17, here it was 14, now down to 12%, so obviously the Audi finished on 13, down to 11%. We're just revving the car here. Maybe revved it a little bit too much there at the very end. Maybe it should be 10%. This is obviously a hard thing to get right in these tests because you want to push to the limit with these cars. So there are some variations in there. As we jump towards the tyre wear now, 82% on the front. So happy days with the front, actually. Very good tyre wear on the front. The rears, though, my word, 71% and 61% on that right rear. The car was very, very oversteery on that last lap. I've got to say, extremely oversteery. It was very hard to control. But you can actually see that on the times on the right, 31.7 there. Our lap 2 though, 30.302, very good lap number 2. And again, a 6.07 there, so very similar to the Audi. It started off quicker, the Ferrari, finished off slower just due to that oversteer. if I'm honest. Let's jump now to the tables, though. Let's have a look at what all the data says to us. Obviously, we've only got 2 cars for this new BoP test here at Suzuka. So Audi is ahead there by, what, 1.5 tenths? Something like that. But they're in the 57, so that's fairly balanced in the grand scheme of it, in my opinion. As I say, I think the Audi, I'm potentially overperforming the Audi. The Ferrari, I had a very good lap in there as well. A very good couple of sectors. So it's probably around about right there, in my opinion. Let's jump now to Interlagos. Let's have a look at the more detailed summary table. I've updated this quite a bit for you. So we have there the leader table. So Ford GT still in the lead there from the Audi, from the Ferrari. So they make the top 3 now. Audi is top on fuel there, but I did mention about the fuel. Now, I know for a fact the Ferrari is far better at saving fuel than the Audi, so we don't take that into consideration. We're just looking at overall fuel going flat out. Here, in terms of tyre wear, you can see the Ferrari way down on tyre wear, which is expected. We saw that with the rear tyres, down to 296 versus 301 in the Audi, 303 in the Ford, or 313 in the Aston Martin DBR 9GT1, but that's a mile off in terms of pace there. So you can see that's what we're going to do now for the summary. We can have a look at fuel, tyres, race time. It gives you a good idea of what's happening there, where the race times are versus the tyres versus the fuel. So you can see the Ford should be ahead because it lacks that fuel or fuel saving capabilities potentially. So they need to fill up more in the pits, which costs some time. And you can see that with that leaderboard right there. So that is the first of the BoP tests. Obviously, these are going to come bi-weekly, as I've already said, with the Group 4 car profiles in the middle of those. So it will be the BoP test now, then it'll be a car profile on Friday, and then it'll be a BoP test the week after that, and so on and so forth. And we're going to keep doing that. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the slight change to the BoP test and the car profiles. Hopefully it should give you more information. But thanks very much for watching. As always, car profiles there of both the cars we've just done, and I will see you in the next video.